Mike Pillow claims to have been warned that he could face jail time for posting allegedly stolen election data, which means it's time for another episode of Pillow Talk.
God gave me this platform.
I want to talk to Mike Lindell.
I already know I'm going to win. China did our vote.
No, they're not lumpy pillows.
Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign. Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't.
Just forget about the evidence.
You're an asshole.
This was attacked.
Asshole.
On Monday, MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell claimed that his lawyers had warned him not to post a website featuring allegedly stolen election data from Colorado. Obviously, having possession of stolen data from the election would be very serious. Now, this was during a discussion about the recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling finding that states could not remove Donald Trump from the 2024 presidential ballot for insurrection. The courts did not address whether or not Donald Trump had actually engaged in insurrection. It just focused on, can the states remove someone from a ballot? And the answer apparently is no. And that's 9-0, unanimous, saying that it's not the job for the courts, it's the job of Congress. And so there's that. Now, what do these two things have in common? Well, I don't know. Not really anything. But Mike seems to think that this ruling means that they will eventually agree with him for some reason. Before I get to that, though, first, I want to show you Mike Pillow admitting to committing a potential crime.
By the way, everybody, if you want to see the image, if you want to see what's inside the computer or the machines, go to frankspeech.com. Put in inside the machines. I put the whole image up there, Jack, a year and a half ago, and the media won't even tell people about it. My lawyers are going, Mike, you could maybe go to jail. You know, I said, I don't care. I've been there before. The world needs to know what this woman did, this Jenna Griswold.
Okay, so here's the thing about that, right? If this was stolen election data, he would have already been in trouble for it. I mean, you know, they're not going to let that go, okay? So it's much more likely that this is not actual election data. This is just junk data that doesn't mean anything, that isn't involved in the election at all. For example, it's like his so-called packet captures, which weren't actually packets at all, okay? And by the way, everything that gets sent over the internet arrives in a packet, okay? And they're usually sent over in something called a PCAP form, okay? Which, again, gets basically disassembled, for lack of a better word, right, into something that the computer then reads, okay? So it gets sent over the internet in a packet, and then all the data gets taken out of the packet and put into the different file formats. Now, here's the thing. Robert Zeidman looked into his so-called packet captures, right, and found that it actually wasn't what Lindell was saying that it was. His 15-page report said that the data Lindell provided and reflects information from the November 2020 election unequivocally does not contain packet data of any kind and do not contain any information related to the November 2020 election. The only substantive data Zeidman was provided ended up being lists of random IP addresses like RTF and CSV files, as well as some binary files with hilarious names. Okay, now one of the TXT files, and I don't know who named these files, but it says one of them is Chinese source IP _ hex.txt. Now, if you think that China is hacking into the election, into these machines, you think they're going to name it Chinese source IP? No, it's obviously someone there renamed these to point out, see, it's the Chinese source, but it really isn't, okay? But anyway, two of the judges of Lindell's Prove Mike Wrong challenge ended up being rather disappointed that they were not provided actual packet capture data, okay? And that's because they never had it. I really doubt that Mike ended up posting anything illegal in the first place. And I also call bullshit on the claim that his lawyers said, oh, be careful, Mike, if you post this up, you could go to jail. Now, I say that because what lawyers? I mean, did he even have lawyers a year and a half ago? Perhaps he did. But since at least October of last year, he has been too broke to pay them. And probably beforehand. Because again, he had months of unpaid legal bills prior to his lawyers quitting. That said, speaking of court, speaking of the 9-0 ruling, right, which is what this conversation originally was about, well, Lindell has decided to have a new prediction.
I've said a long time ago that the Supreme Court will end up voting 9-0, and not in a lot of issues, everybody. We have a huge case that's going to get to the Supreme Court, and I believe it within 2 weeks, Jack, and we're going to get the word out everywhere. When we make this announcement, my lawyers and myself, when we make this announcement, it's one thing. The people need to know that it's at the Supreme Court so they can accept it. And I believe when they do it, it's going to be another 9-0.
That's it. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It's going to be another 9-0. They're going to rule in favor of Mike Pillow. I mean, his lawyers say so. Wait, what lawyers? I just went over the fact that he can't afford to pay any lawyers. So which law firm is representing Mike Lindell? Is it the firm of Lighter, Crack, and Pipe? I mean, that's where he tends to get most of his ideas, at least. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. 2 weeks from now, everybody, just set your clocks. Set your clocks. Set your calendars. Watch for the Supreme Court. Can't wait.